Well, to talk a little bit more about this whole sabbatical and how this came about, I was having a conversation with one of my partners, and I was saying, I feel really pretty tired. I've been practicing now here at the firm for about 11 years, and some of my friends in other professions in the academic world and in uh, clergy. It's sort of built into their uh, professional lives that they're going to take some time, and it might be 2 months, or it might be 3 months, it might be 6 months, it might be a whole year. One of my teacher friends, who's a professor at one of the local colleges, is starting a year-long sabbatical. Um, I was saying to my friend, I'm thinking about doing this, and he said, well, you should, if you'd like to explore this, let's try and arrange it so that we can have folks in our practice group cover for you, and then maybe in a few years when I want to do this, you can cover for me. So we had this kind of discussion within our practice group, and there were 3 or 4 people I approached to ask them if they'd be willing to provide some backup so that one person wouldn't be burdened with all of the work that would be involved for covering for my clients. Well, it's interesting that my partner would respond the way that he did, because frankly I was afraid to talk about this, because I was anticipating that it would be interpreted like, well, I want to leave my practice, or I want to do something other than practicing law. He knows that I have a lot of interests, and he was very encouraging, and I think there was some self-interest that was involved there, in that thinking, well, this is something that if you try this and it works, then maybe it will work for me or others in our group. And we are very fortunate that we have a very close collaborative group, and we do work with each other's clients, and so it's not at all unusual for this kind of sharing of responsibilities to occur. The next level was to go to talk with the executive director of the firm, and that was interesting because we had a good conversation, and he led me to believe that it might be something that we could pursue. And then I had a conversation with the head of my practice group went and talked to the executive committee and explained what was going on, and people tended to be fairly responsive, and I was really pleased about that. But I think it was my having the courage to ask for what I needed, and to identify that what I needed was a break, and then to put in place the support for my clients so that they would have coverage in my absence. That was an important part of it as well. The challenging thing for me has been to be in my role here. What is my role? What is my identity? How do I sort that out if I've been spending all this time doing this thing, practicing and counseling, and I view my work as really as a counselor, as someone who is a listener who helps people with their problems, to help them resolve the real challenges that they have. And obviously there is tax planning, there's the traditional sorts of things that happen with wills and trusts and that sort of thing with estate planning. We have all of the techniques that are available, but it's not coming with a prescribed outcome or with a prescribed solution. It's really what I feel is what I do is I'm listening and trying to find what would work for that person, and to have a conversation with them to determine what is going to be the best solution for the client. In my decision about taking the sabbatical, I obviously had conversations with my wife and my children, and explained to them that things would change and that I'd be around more, and people seemed to be pretty happy about that. So I was glad about that. I plan to do some traveling with different members of my family. I've been done some traveling with my son this summer, and will be doing some more traveling later in the fall. I do think that the idea of sabbatical is a little bit scary, because well, one of my friends said, in a sense, we're a bit anesthetized. We're comfortable and we know what we're supposed to do. We know that this is our role. We're in the office, or we're meeting with clients, or we're having a court proceeding. We know what to do in those settings. When we're taken out of those settings, we're faced with, well, now what do we do? And I think these are questions that lawyers sometimes face in retirement. Some of the very successful lawyers that I know have found it very difficult to retire, because they're used to being the knowledgeable one, the one who is the great resource, and it's hard to give up that role. I have a friend who's a very senior lawyer who's written a number of treatises, and I was having a conversation with him at one of the conferences that we attended, and I asked him if he had any hobbies, and he said, well, actually, yes, he really loved to carve wooden birds. He was a wood carver. And I said, well, how often do you get to do that? And he said, well, not very often. I mean, but it's something that he would really like to do. And so I encouraged him. I found a book on wood carving and bird carving in particular, and sent that to him, and he was really pleased with that. But I don't know whether he's having much time for the wood carving or not. We tend to not do some of those things that we might do, and I think there is this kind of anesthesia about it, that we're comfortable. There's inertia too, and not really being willing to change how we operate and how we act, and the things that we do in our lives. And I believe that we are, as lawyers, given a very particular opportunity to be agents of transformation. And it seems that we can't really do those things unless we are willing to be like a seed that, in order to be transformed, has to lose its husk, has to lose its shell, and something beautiful and new is going to come out of that. That, to me, is the challenge that we face as we think about how we're going to be practicing, and that's what I'm grappling with in my sabbatical, is to think, how can I do this in a new way? How can I bring a fresher approach to the work that I do, to the time that I spend with my clients? And it's my hope that I will be able to draw from the time in nature. I've been doing a fair amount of kayaking, as well as the drawing and the painting, and to find ways of bringing that energy and that inspiration to my practice.